We are incredibly excited to be partnering with Dr. Akua Woolbright and the Whole Cities Foundation to host the Let's Talk Food series during Team Member Appreciation Week this week. Dr. Akua Woolbright is the Nutrition Program Director at Whole Cities Foundation, an organization on a mission to improve individual and community health through collaborative partnerships, education, and broader access to nutritious food. Through Whole Cities Foundation's Let's Talk Food Nutrition program, Dr. Woolbright offers free cooking and wellness classes in several locations across the U.S. She strives to empower individuals and communities to live healthier lives by providing authoritative nutritional information, passionate inspiration, and genuine support. Before I hand it off to Dr. Akua, I wanted to go over a couple of quick housekeeping items. So please make sure to grab a paper and pen to take notes. There's going to be tons of information that you'll want to jot down. Please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, either by sending it privately directly to Dr. Akua or by sharing with the group. Whatever you feel comfortable with doing is totally fine. We will have someone monitoring the chat, so all questions will be answered at the end of the session during the Q&A. Dr. Akua, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys inviting me to do this and having the opportunity to talk to team members. So much of my work is out in the communities that we serve. So it is indeed a privilege to be able to talk to family today. And you know, the goal of this talk is really to provide team members with just added support. All of us are experiencing so much in our own communities and the world around us. We have so many concerns that can be stressors and barriers in our lives. And we all need someone that we can turn to for support in those moments where we can look inward and really practice self-care. So this is a gift for you guys. And you know, the other thing we can really start thinking about is we're approaching what is known as the cold and flu season. I'm not sure about in California, you guys have beautiful weather, but in Michigan, it's definitely about to be the cold and flu season. And some of us are still concerned about the coronavirus and making sure we're taking the necessary precautions to stay healthy and well. As we think about health and wellness, it can be really confusing because there's so many conflicting nutrition advice and information around us. We get information from our personal trainers, from our doctors, our neighbors down the street, our loved ones. Everyone seems to be a nutrition expert. So it's no wonder that we can be left confused about which direction to go. What I really pride myself in is giving sound, evidence-based information that will last the test of time. So as all the fads come and go, high fat, low carb, keto, paleo, all the different labels that we place on different dietary plans, I will still be here giving the same nutrition advice year after year after year, because Whole Foods Market and the doctors we have worked with going back to 2009 really worked hard to come up with a plan that our team members and the communities that we serve could be proud of and could really rely on. So we will talk about that today. So, you know, sometimes when I talk about these classes, I start out with an exercise that will help each of you start to see yourselves in the messaging. We won't go through the entire exercise today, but what I will invite you to do is just to take a few seconds now to think about why you joined this call. You could be doing anything else with your time right now. Why spend it with me? I'm glad that you did, but why did you make that choice? If you know what is motivating you to learn more about healthy eating, it can serve you when those moments get hard and when you have to make decisions between different dietary choices. So perhaps you're a person who would love to learn how to take care of your small children. Maybe you want to make sure that your children are eating nourishing meals, and you want to have better information to make those decisions for your family. Perhaps you want to lose weight so that you can feel better in your body. You may be on medication and you want to lower your cholesterol or your blood pressure. Perhaps you have low moods and you want to improve your mood or improve your blood sugar. And we'll get to that on later on in the week. For me, I can tell you what my why is. My why is that one, I'm a nutrition educator for a company like Whole Foods Market. So I want to be authentic and I want to actually practice what I preach. So that keeps me honest and keeps me going back to the healthy foods over and over again. But more important than that, I often like to joke that I'm an older mother. I'm 53 years old and my son just turned 16. So I have this desire to be healthy and whole for him for a very long time. So on the days when I'm driving by all of those popular fast food restaurants, it helps me to put blinders on and block that out and keep coming back to that healthy choice time and time again. So I invite each of you to give some serious thought to your why. Because having something that's outside of yourself, that's bigger than you, will help to fortify you on those days when you're tired and you're exhausted, you're stressed, you're worried, and you really want to stop and make the quick choice. Perhaps that why will allow you to drive by those choices, go home, and actually prepare a nourishing meal. So that's the first thing I would like for you to consider. Another thing that we often do in class is we'll spend some time talking about the statistics and all of the numbers that we have around disease in America. We'll talk about increasing cases of cancer or high blood pressure, diabetes. And we won't really go through those numbers here today either because most of us have some personal relationship with those numbers anyway. How many of us, know someone in our families, our communities, our jobs who are struggling with health concerns? We all know someone who's on medication, sometimes multiple medications. We may be worried about our families, our parents, our grandparents. We may be worried about our coworkers. So we know that we have a health crisis in America, and we also have been hearing information about how we got there. So when you think about the standard American diet, you have to consider that 35% of the diet comes from animal products. About 40% comes from processed foods like, chips, processed breads, processed pastas, all of the stuff we see in those grocery aisles. And if there's anyone on the call who works in the grocery department, we appreciate all that you do. And we know the Whole Foods Market does a better job than most in the types of grocery items that we carry because we have very strong quality standards. But when you think about the typical grocery store, imagine what a lot of Americans are consuming. And only about 12% of the American diet comes from plant-based foods, right? And so you have, a good 35% coming from animal products. Some numbers say 45%, some go up to 60% coming from processed, refined, packaged foods. And then whatever's left is what is given to produce. And when you look at the amount of produce that we consume, about half of the produce would be potatoes, and many of the potatoes are really French fries or loaded baked potatoes. So when you really look at how much green and colorful vegetables, whole grains, legumes that Americans are consuming, and some numbers really put it as low as about 8% of the total diet. So no wonder our bodies are out of balance and not really whole because we're not giving our bodies foods that are nourishing, and we're flooding our bodies with processed foods, with fast food, fried food, fatty foods, and too many animal products. I'm not ever saying that anyone should not consume animal products, but it's really about putting it into balance. So I just want to slow the conversation down now so you can just take in that first part, that we have a health crisis in America. And when we look at the standard American diet, we can easily see that a lot of the health conditions we're facing are really due to dietary and lifestyle choices. To me, that's actually the good news. It's exciting to know that we can be empowered to make choices that will help us to rebuild our bodies and return ourselves to optimal health and longevity. And when I give you the information about how to do that, I want you to really take notes around that, because you can use this information to help not only your own family, but your extended family and your communities, because the information really is evidence based and it can help anyone who will apply it with some consistency. I would take just a moment to acknowledge that we are individuals, right? And there may be some tweaks that one person has to do over another, but the foundation I'm going to give you is really the starting place for all conditions, right? Whether someone's dealing with cancer, they want to lose weight, they want to control their blood sugar, they want to lower their cholesterol. The information I'm going to provide to you now is the starting place for all of that. So I will start by saying that as you start to think about making dietary changes, be mindful about the fad diets that I mentioned earlier, because they will come and go. Every few years, they kind of cycle out. And right now, one of the trends we're really seeing taking on speed is the trend to go to a vegan diet. Sometimes you may hear it stated as plant-based. I will say that those are two different things. Plant-based means that the diet is based on mainly plants. Vegetarian means that you have eliminated all flesh, beef, pork, poultry, and seafood, all flesh. Sometimes I hear people eating fish and chicken saying they're vegetarian. That's not vegetation. And then a vegan diet means the elimination of all animal products. So that would then include eggs, cheese, butter, ice cream, any form of animal product. So you do see this increased emphasis on a vegan diet. And I want to give a caution with that, because what I am seeing is concerning to me. Although I've been vegan since 1990, my 16-year-old son has been vegan since the womb. What a lot of new vegans are doing is really building their meals around heavily processed foods, like those frozen veggie burgers, the vegan cookies, the cakes, the natural sodas, French fries, baked potatoes with the vegan cheese, the vegan pizzas with the cheese all over it, the vegan mac and cheese. And so that's concerning to me, because the mistake or the misstep that I see is people thinking that health is equal to the elimination of animal products. That all we have to do is simply remove the animal products from the diet, and we will then automatically enjoy optimal health and well-being. And I'm here to say it's not simply about the elimination of animal products. It's more about what you add to your diet, how you treat your systems, your organs, your cells, and your DNA. And eliminating animal products and then replacing them with heavily processed foods is not enough, and it can be even more harmful to your bodies. Why is that? Well, when you think about the fake meats, most of them are made with excess sodium, preservatives, and other unnatural ingredients, gluten, or soy isolates. And when we think about soy isolates, they can be harmful to one's body and perhaps even carcinogenic. There's new research coming out now really looking at some of the harmful impacts of overly consuming soy isolates. You will also hear soy getting a bad rep in the media. So when I talk about avoiding soy isolates, I'm not talking about organic edamame beans, the whole bean. I'm not talking about organic tofu or tempeh. We're talking about those processed ingredients that end up in some of our vegan products that no longer even resemble the bean, the tofu, or the tempeh. The further you remove yourself from the whole real food that came from the earth, the closer you move towards disease and unhealthy options. So I wanted to take a moment out because I know we work at Whole Foods and we sell a lot of vegan friendly products, and you will have a lot of customers asking you these questions perhaps, and perhaps even struggling with it for your own selves. I want to be clear that when we're talking about transitioning to a healthy diet, we don't simply mean a vegan diet, but one that is actually properly constructed to get more of what your body needs and less of what your body does not need. Now, I think we're going to see some improvements in vegan products. We see some of that already. I know we sell Beyond Burger, which is one of the cleanest options on the market to date. But what I'm really speaking of are those heavily processed products, and as much as possible, always eating very close to the earth. Now, I have a little time left, so I will go into exactly what I want you to do to construct a healthy plate. So I want you to take notes, and I want you to really commit today to try to build your diets this way going forward. And if you ever have a loved one who comes to you with a health concern or condition, this is their starting place, regardless. Some of this will be familiar because we're Whole Foods Market team members, so we've heard this before, but we can all use a reminder. I know I can. So the first pillar to healthy eating, and this goes back to John Mackey and the healthy eating team that I was privileged to be a part of in 2009. These are the recommendations that we came up with, and they still hold true today. So the first pillar to healthy eating is whole foods. Ask yourself if the food you're about to consume is a whole, real food. That means it's from the earth. It's made by nature, not by man. These are things your great, 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 great grandmother would be able to go outside and source from her natural environment. She would see it swimming, walking, flying, or growing. So this would not include things like boxed mac and cheese, instant potatoes, hot pockets, lean cuisines, all of that overly processed stuff that your grandma would look at, not even recognize, or be able to prepare from scratch. And of course, that includes all the candy and the soda. We can go and include most of fast food. Those things would not be considered whole foods from the earth. The second pillar to healthy eating is plant strong or plant powered. This is a Rip Esselstyn term. He's the one who helped Whole Foods Market create the Engine 2 diet. Now, when we talk about plant strong, we don't necessarily mean vegan or vegetarian, but it means eating more plants than anything else. So these are your green and colorful vegetables, your colorful fruit, a variety of whole grains, not just whole wheat, legumes, and just a few nuts and seeds, just half your handful, unroasted and unsalted. This is very important. Your nuts and your seeds are not foods. They're not snacks. They're really supplements. You only need about half a handful a day to meet your healthy fat requirement and to prevent high blood pressure and perhaps cancer, unsalted and unroasted. So when you build your meals around these colorful plant foods, you are then giving your body what I like to call disease assassins. These are nature's very own sharpshooters and Navy SEALs. These foods will work with your systems, organs, cells, and DNA to make you disease proof. You want to flood your body with all the different colors of the rainbow, because every color in the plant kingdom corresponds to a different set of nutrients that feeds a different part of the body. So when you're making your dietary choices, ask yourself, did I feed my brain today? What about my ovaries? Did I feed my ovaries? What about my prostate, my kidneys, my lungs? So eat red foods, purple, yellow, orange, light green, dark green, black berries, black beans, black rice. And then we come to the third pillar, healthy fats. And we just talked about that. You get your healthy fats from your whole plant foods, like avocado, unroasted nuts and seeds. If you do those three things consistently, whole foods, plant strong, really being your mantra, whole foods, plant strong, whole foods, plant strong, with your healthy fats, the fourth pillar happens automatically. This is where your food becomes micronutrient dense. Your food has now become medicine because you're getting more of what you need: vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytonutrients, and less of what you don't: excess calories, fat, sugar, and sodium. So eat from nature, and this is how you would then be able to nourish and heal your body, rejuvenate your cells and your DNA, and to fight off disease. This is when you get increased immunity. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow in even more detail. And this is the starting foundation for how you control and regulate your mood and your blood sugar, which we'll get into later in the week. So this is the foundation, what I like to call your starting place. Here's a couple of homework assignments I'd like to give you to take away. One, challenge yourself to eat more produce than ever before. Don't worry about what you're necessarily taking out of your diet. Instead, focus on what you're going to add, and start by adding more produce. Number two, make sure you're adding more variety. You know, most Americans go into the grocery store and they consume the same 10 to 12 types of produce during his or her entire lifetime. The same apple, carrots, oranges, bananas, onion, on and on and on. You know what your grocery cart looks like, and it tends to be very familiar week in and week out. So challenge yourself. Go online, Google a new produce, walk through our produce department, experiment and play. And then make sure, as your third assignment, that you're eating more color than ever before. Challenge yourself to see how many different colors you can consume at breakfast. Can you get green, purple, orange, and yellow onto one plate, one smoothie container, one bowl? How many colors can you get into breakfast? And then do the same thing for your snacks, lunch, afternoon snack, and dinner. Remembering that each color is actually medicine for a particular part of your body. And we don't want to leave our brain out. So we need those purple foods for the brain. We don't want to forget about our cardiovascular system. We need those orange and red foods for heart health. We don't want to forget about our bones. So what about those dark green leafy vegetables for our bones? So by eating the rainbow of colors in the plant kingdom, you are ensuring that each part of your body is going to be well fed and highly nourished. And finally, every time you get ready to make a dietary choice, remember the mantra and ask yourself, is this whole foods? Is this plant strong? And that will guide you along your healthy eating journey. So I'm going to stop there and open this up for some questions. Oh, I have questions here. Okay, the first one is, are there foods for diabetes, for diabetics? Well, we'll get into that on Wednesday when we talk about blood sugar, but I will give you some information about that now. So I think that for diabetics, there's a lot of confusion out there, and sometimes my recommendations may be a little bit different from what a diabetes educator would recommend, because they may have you avoiding bananas and watermelon. And for me, I think that the banana and the watermelon didn't really set us up for disease in the first place. So I would rather look at other parts of the diet and start there, then address the bananas and the watermelon. So I would say the first thing I would really encourage a diabetic to do is to try to get more protein in at every meal. And by more protein, I mean at least 10 grams, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you can get up to 20 grams, that's even better. Why do we want more protein? And when I say protein, I really mean clean, lean meats, very little fat, or a plant-based protein like the legume family, or even a protein shake made from green peas, something that will have less carbohydrate in it. And we sell a very nice green pea protein shake with less than 1 gram of carbohydrate per serving. I believe it's the 365 brand. So I would say more protein in every meal. Why? It'll help to regulate your blood sugar. It'll help you to stabilize. And by being stable, you'll feel more in control of what you're going to choose to eat. When our blood sugar is going up and down, we tend to have deeper cravings, and we'll want to go to the fatty food like the pizza or the carb or the chips. So by eating the protein throughout the day, at least 10 grams, but up to 20, you're in better control of your blood sugar and those cravings. Also, by eating more protein throughout the day, you can push out some of the carbohydrates, right? So then, what carbs do you want to eat? I would say yes, a diabetic can eat carbs, but I want you to eat carbs like broccoli, cauliflower. Those dark green leafy vegetables are great for diabetics. Beets, even maybe some sweet potato, not too much sweet potato, maybe a third of a cup would be enough to get in those nutrients from the sweet potato without overdoing that kind of starchy vegetable. So I will end by saying you do want to watch some of the starchy vegetables and fruit like the banana, like the sweet potato. It's not where I would start, but you do want to watch those and eat more of those vegetables that are less starchy, like the dark green leafy vegetables and other things like that. And if you have more questions, you can always email me. I can give you a whole little protocol for diabetics. Frozen fruits and veggies, yes. I love frozen fruits and veggies because I can put them in my freezer. They're shelf stable. They'll be there. You know, when the coronavirus first hit us, you know, people were going out and clean out the shelves. I also get this question around people who may live in food deserts and they can't go grocery shopping all of the time. I say stock up on your frozen fruits and vegetables. Make sure there's no sugar packets or any other sauces included or added. But the way that most companies are processing frozen produce today is they're flash freezing them at the site of harvest. And so we find that they may have even more nutrients than fresh. Imagine a banana or a mango that's traveled from a different country and it's been on all kinds of different automobiles, and then it's been in a warehouse, and then it finally got to the store, and then it has to wait for someone to buy it. The nutrients are slowly decreasing in that fresh produce that's come from a long distance away. If it's local, that's different. So we have found that frozen produce can be as nutritious, if not more so, than fresh. And also say eat canned foods. I love some of our canned products, like some of the 365 canned foods, but also the Eden is one of our brands. No BPA in the lining, no salt added, could be a great option. I buy my beans canned and I rinse them and I can have dinner in 15 minutes. A can of black beans, add some curry powder to that, make some curry black beans, a bag of frozen broccoli, maybe some brown rice, some steamed or baked sweet potato. That's a meal. Akua is happy. High blood pressure, you know, the same thing. For all of these conditions, whether it's diabetes or high blood pressure or cholesterol, by building each meal around a variety of produce, you're going to be taking the things out of your body that will help your blood pressure to increase in the first place. We know that sodium is one of the main culprits to high blood pressure. And research has shown time and time again that we actually get most of our sodium intake not from our kitchens, but from our processed foods. All of those packaged crackers and bread and cookies and pastas and soups are so high in sodium. So if you pull those out, you eat from the earth instead, you're not only going to be taking the sodium out of your diet, but you're going to be flooding your body with the produce that can actually contain more potassium. And we know potassium is the electrolyte that balances the sodium. We know that the potassium is the electrolyte that balances the sodium. So we want to pull the sodium out by getting rid of some of those processed foods and increase those foods that are rich in potassium. Those green vegetables, your cantaloupe, watermelon, and banana. You also get a lot of potassium from your citrus fruits, like your grapefruits and your oranges. We sell potassium supplements. I do not recommend those. You want to get the potassium from your produce so it's in the right balance. You don't want to have too high sodium, but it's also dangerous to have too high potassium. So by getting it from the foods, it will have a natural balance. So that's how we deal with high blood pressure, is by really eating those plant-based foods and watching the refined foods. Another tip you can do is, instead of salting your food as you're cooking it, wait and salt it at the table. You can taste it more on your tongue, but you didn't add so much. Veggies that are more nutrient when cooked. Oh, that's a very good question. This is why it's so great question. This is why it's important to eat both cooked and raw produce, because you don't need to memorize which one is better, how, right? By eating a variety of raw and cooked, you'll be getting all of the nutrition that you need for your diet. But you're right, there are some vegetables that are better manipulated. For instance, tomatoes. The lycopene, that antioxidant that is so healthy in tomatoes, is better absorbed by the body when the tomatoes are either smashed, like maybe a salsa or a tomato sauce, or cooked, like a stewed tomato. Another one that's better when it's been manipulated are both your onion and your garlic. It's better for you to cut your onion or chop your garlic, and when it starts to make your eyes burn and your nose burn, it's working. You set it to the side for about 15 minutes and then add it to the heat. So examples like that. Turmeric is another one that's actually, we hear a lot about that spice being so nourishing. It's actually better when it's added to hot oil, like a coconut or olive oil specifically, with a little bit of black pepper. It makes that chemical in the turmeric much more readily available by the body. So this is why it is important to eat a variety of both cooked and raw foods. So you don't have to memorize all that. You're naturally getting it through your dietary choices. For diabetic, I would say for your protein, we have a question coming in. How much protein consumption for diabetics? Again, about at least 10 grams per each meal, up to 20 grams. So I would like to see a diabetic consuming at least 45 grams of protein a day, at least about 45 grams of protein. Now, if you're an athlete, that's going to increase. But for the average person, about 45 grams. For women, maybe for men, about 55 grams per day for men. And that will help to regulate your blood sugar. We have a question about how to track what you eat. Are there any app suggestions? There's a lot of apps out there. It really depends which one you like. The one I use is Lose It. Lose It. There's a free app, and they also have one you could pay for a little bit more bells and whistles. But I really like that one because it has a lot of the popular foods in it. It also has a lot of the Whole Foods Market stuff that we carry. Even some of our name brand stuff is in that app. So I like to use that one. It tracks my water consumption. It can track how many calories I need for the day versus how many I've consumed. It tracks my macronutrients. I really love that one. And if you want to really get more sophisticated, go online and look for the chronometer. Chronometer. It's spelled Chronometer. Chronometer. That's real fancy. It's free also, last time I checked, but it gives you like scientific numbers around what you need for each nutrient and how much you consumed at the end of the day. It tracks it for you. Like, this is how much protein you need, this is how much carbohydrates you need, and it tells you if you missed the mark or not. So I think it's a very great idea to use some type of app until you become more familiar, because it helps you to really stay accountable and honest. I know for me, as a nutritionist with a PhD in nutritional science, I sometimes still underestimate how many calories is in something. And by me using my Lose It and me tracking things in there as I go throughout the day, I know at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock how many calories I have left for the day. Then I can decide how I want to use those calories. One avocado, I love guacamole, is 380 calories. Do I want to use 380 calories for some guacamole? Or do I want to maybe have a vegetable stir fry and a room for a protein shake? So using the app helps you to get real clear and real honest about what you're consuming. One tip though, I tend to shave off about 150 calories from those apps because I think they give us too much room. I was still over consuming, I was still putting on weight. So if it tells you that your daily allotment is 1,400, maybe scale that back to 1,300 just to be on the safe side. Intermittent fasting. A question here about intermittent fasting. I love it. There's different ones. You can experiment with what works for your body. But I think it's great to fast even for longer periods of time to give your body a break and to kind of reset. And I think there's a lot of research now that shows that intermittent fasting has been successful in helping people to keep the weight off and to better regulate their blood sugar and their blood pressure, especially around blood pressure. We see more results, positive results around blood pressure, but some show some positive results around blood sugar and definitely weight. Now, another caution, you have to know yourself and be honest with yourself. If you're gonna not eat into noon, you have to still have the control to still eat your vegetables and your high quality protein and make good choices. You can't fast all day to eat a pizza at noon. And that's where some of the research shows that some people struggle with it because by the time it's time for them to eat, they kind of go off the rails. So it does work if you work it. Okay. What do you do if you don't digest vegetables and legumes well? Okay, for your vegetables, you may want to cook them a little bit longer so they're a little bit softer. For your legumes, you may want to soak them overnight. The old school things we've heard of, add a bay leaf while they're cooking or soak them in some baking soda and then wash off that first water. All that foam is really what makes the stomach more upset. Another tip is to try a smaller legume, like maybe a black bean or an azuki bean, maybe trying lentils instead, because you may find that some beans upset you, but others don't. And then also, at Whole Foods Market, in our whole body department, we sell some wonderful products. So I like to use a really good digestive enzyme, and someone in whole body can help you figure out which one's right for you. Sometimes I will use an HCl, which is an acid, a digestive acid. We sell that as well. So I have found that as I age, and I'm now done with menopause, I'm postmenopausal at 53, that my digestive system has changed. So you may want to try digestive enzyme. You may want to try like a HCl if your body can tolerate it, and there's a way that you may work with your doctor or your nutritionist to figure out what's right for you. And there's another product you can buy online, I think through Amazon. I believe it's FD, capital F, capital D, GARD, GARD. It's made with a lot of natural herbs that kind of settles the stomach and allows you to better digest your food. So a lot of naturopathic doctors recommend FD GARD for digestive issues. Pregnancy nutrition tip for on-the-go eating. So For pregnancy, you want to make sure that you're, of course, getting all your calories in, that you're getting plenty of those micronutrients in throughout the day. And if you're on the go, some things that I like to do, and I did 100 years ago when I was pregnant, was think about the nutrient more than the food. And this is something that my midwife actually helped me with at that time. She's like, don't worry about eating all of this food. Make sure you're getting the right nutrients. And by that, she meant I could do a protein shake. We have a great meal replacer in Whole Body, the Garden of Life, protein shake and meal replacer, everything you need. I mean, it's packed with all kinds of goodness. I would say sometimes the Garden of Life is too heavy for people and can cause a little bit of GI upset. There's so much fiber in there. So this is where you may do your digestive enzyme. This is where you may start with a lower amount and increase, work your way up to higher amounts over time. But think about finding some type of protein powder. In some of our stores, we sell Sun Warrior. It's very clean, only like 4 ingredients, made from hemp protein, or maybe something that's made simply with a green pea protein, maybe just 1 ingredient, depending on what you can tolerate. Again, some people can't take the Garden of Life because there's 50 ingredients in one powder. So you can see if you can tolerate that, or get the Sun Warrior with like 4 ingredients, or green pea protein powder with 1 ingredient. And then the same thing with your prenatal vitamin and your superfoods. These are things you can put into your body so your body is well nourished even when you're moving, because the protein powder is going to have all kinds of stuff that you need, and your supplement and your superfoods. And then of course you can grab your dried fruit, you can grab your walnuts, you can grab stuff out of produce. I love to get a bean dip and just eat it with those little baby cucumbers, right? Get romaine lettuce and put hummus in there and just eat it like a sandwich. These are things perhaps you can do on the go. And for me, also just eat simply. A meal for me can be like just a bowl of steamed broccoli, and I can just kind of eat it as I'm moving, right? And smoothies. I can just go on and on. So just kind of think, how can I get the nutrients into like this 1 cup or this 1 bowl? A chia seed pudding, oatmeal with berries in it. Like think about a bowl, a mug. How can you just grab and go? Someone's asking me, a juice cleanse, is it good or bad? I love fasting. I love juice cleanses. I love a nice detox. The caution I would say with that is make sure you know how to go on and off. If you're going to cleanse, like some type of detox cleanse, for the first maybe 3 days leading up to it, you're going to start pulling back on the meat, the beef, the fried food, the soda. So you're going to ease into the cleanse. You're going to go into the cleanse eating pretty healthy. And then however many days, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, people do it 20 days, 40 days, however many days you want to do your juice fast or your juice cleanse, just stick with it. But then when you come off, like you went on to it, come off very gradually. Just start eating some broth. Then you may want to add some raw fruits and vegetables. Then you want to maybe move to cooked food later, and then you save the beef and for never, or just for way down the road, whatever works for you. But so come on to the cleanse gradually, go off gradually. And then the other thing I would say about a cleanse, make sure you're using it really as a launch pad to a healthier diet. I have friends who they just cycle around cleanse. Every other Monday is a new diet. Every other Monday is a new cleanse. I would say if you're going to do it, do your research first. Go in with your mind made up so that you know exactly what your new dietary plan is going to be post-cleanse. So it's not just a cycle that you're on, but you really use it as a jumping off place for a healthier lifestyle. To get information about how to fast and how to really construct a healthy diet, I would really recommend one of our Whole Foods Market partners, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, Fuhrman. I don't often like to recommend other doctors because, I like to be the evidence go-to place person, but I love his work. So look up Dr. Joel Fuhrman, Fuhrman. He has a great book out called Eat for Life. He has a 2-book part out called Eat for Health. One book is the nutrition guide, and the other book is his cookbook. That's my favorite, Eat for Health or Eat for Life by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He has information on his website, and he even has a book specifically on fasting. And he talks to you about how to fast properly. And he goes through all the health benefits of doing so. Are there any more questions? There's no more questions. Well, guys, this has been really great. I have enjoyed spending this time with you. If you have questions that you didn't think about today, 'cause I know there's things I'm thinking about right now that I wish I had said, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. So if you have those moments also, feel free to email me. I'm at Akua, AKUA, Woolbright, WOOLBRIGHT at wholefoods.com. Akua.woolbright at wholefoods.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akua. Such a wealth of knowledge, and we are so incredibly fortunate to have you here with us this week in celebration of Team Member Appreciation Week for all of our team members. We really, really appreciate your time. For those who are going to be joining us tomorrow, same time, same place, for concrete tips for boosting your immune system, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I hope you guys all have a great Monday. Thank you so much, Dr. Akua, again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.